Welcome to Shawn and Carter Have a Podcast. My name is Shawn.
I'm Carter.
And we have yet another special guest for us, and the first one who is not related to me. We have 8-Bit Dame joining us.
Hello.
Hey, it's good to have you.
You can call me Elaine when I'm on the podcast.
We can't just call you 8-Bit.
You can call me 8-Bit too. You can call me either or.
How about Dame? How about Dame Elaine?
Dame you can
Elaine.
maybe. How about you can call me whatever you want, but if I answer, it's okay.
Hey, stupid.
No.
Hey, you responded.
Dang it. Foiled again.
So you're gonna throw in your technical know-how with this whole evil corporation thing, right? Our common theme.
Yeah, absolutely.
We've brought in an expert, Carter.
Yes. Well, I mean, Shawn has one of those devices, but he, is sort of apathetic toward it, I find. So we wanted to get someone on here who could actually speak to, Android.
Was that the goal?
No.
I just wanted a girl.
I know.
I
been,
have
the
succeeded.
going on.
Female present. What can I do for you?
Make people laugh. So I got my wife a MacBook Pro, as many people saw on the YouTube, because I surprised her. She did not know that it was arriving that day. She did not know I had even bought it, and we're in love with the MacBook.
Yeah, she looked so excited. That was adorable.
Well, she has had that thing attached to her hip since I gave it to her. I've barely seen it.
I'm so happy for both of you.
And we're so proud of it.
It just fills me with joy to know that another young couple has been blessed with the gift of a MacBook Pro.
I was so excited.
Won't be able to do anything else, but nothing but Apple forevermore.
Right, we're gonna
Always
have all of our
Apple.
devices. She was using iCal, and I was like, when I have my Apple device, our calendars will sync. And she was like, I can't wait.
I mean, Shawn, you're just going to have to give us regular updates of, we discovered making new desktops in Mission Control, and it's amazing.
Shawn and Alicia's Apple life.
It'll probably
Exactly.
be a lot less annoying for you than it was me when I was playing around with an iPad for the first time, because I don't have an Apple computer. So I find integrating with Apple to be tedious to a fault. So
Yeah, the only thing that I've tried to do that it didn't immediately work, and I haven't investigated it further, is I can navigate to a folder of shared video files on my main computer from anywhere in the house, including my Xbox, but the Mac cannot see it for some reason. And I'm sure it's just something I need to set up, but I was like, oh, that's one incompatible thing. It's not working.
And it's going to have to use iTunes to do it, right? You got to open up iTunes to...
I don't know.
No.
I don't know.
I'm pretty sure that Mac OS 11 is going to just be iTunes.
Well, that's fine. It'll compete with Google Chrome OS.
When are they just going to do iInterface or just the iConsole? Or why don't they just call it what it really is, which is the program that you have to open in order to use your hardware? Something.
Something coming from Apple. 2011.
Well, I mean, it was a big deal when they dropped the disc. For a long time, the icon was a CD, because iTunes is a direct descendant of CD player, the CD player app from Mac OS 8, and it just the way that you used it was you burned music to your hard drive. So there's a lot of cruft there.
Evil, right? So
Before it was evil. I think it still was pretty latent and buggy.
Yeah, it's always been kind of a resource hog.
I have said on air multiple times that iTunes is the very worst software product that Apple has, and I hate it. Nobody in that, no real, Mac aficionado, Mac fan likes iTunes. If there is someone out there who likes iTunes, speak up, and you will get hated on, by the way. So.
Oh, that poor person. But I have to say, it's iTunes almost entirely is one of the biggest reasons why I'm kind of adverse to using Apple products, because of the way that they use iTunes now, and how it's very.
You don't. with iOS 5, you don't have to use iTunes anymore. You can like buy an iPad, set it up at the store, and never have to sync it to iTunes ever again. You get updates over the air. You can download all your music and manage it there. You can iCloud takes care of all of making sure your music is synchronized and everything. So like you don't have to use iTunes now. So
yeah, we have done on the laptop is installed Spotify because that's the way that we get most of our music, probably 95% of it. So I don't think Alicia's going to use it.
That is such a great program. Spotify is.
We're big Spotify evangelists on the podcast. We love Spotify.
I just when its subscription service works well, I just can't. Why wouldn't I subscribe?
Of course.
I still use the free version, but I have considered subscribing to it.
I used free for probably about a month, and then I was convinced mostly by the repetitive ads. I was like, it is worth $10 a month to just get rid of these ads.
Because they only have 3 of them.
Yes.
Maybe 4.
And I got rid of them, and you can use it on your phone. So it was awesome.
Mm-hmm. Do they still only, being a free user, do they still only have 3 ads after, like to this day?
They rotate them through, and usually has. I think the most annoying thing about their ads is I play Spotify minimized. It's in my taskbar, and I'm not looking at it. So when they're like, you should click on this picture that I don't see. And they're talking all about this bottom bar and whatnot. And if I'm actually interested in it, I'll open it up and it'll already be over and gone and away. So I've considered...
So you want a pop-up ad is what you're saying.
Oh, no. No, I'd actually uninstall if it did that. Yeah, it's not a lot of advertisements, and it's about 4 or 5. So you get really used to them, but really repetitive.
I know in Europe, or at least in Great Britain... Their free service, I think, has a similar ad support kind of thing, but it also has something else that the American version does not have. It has a cap of how many times you can listen to particular songs.
Really?
That's lame.
So in a month, like, you could only listen to song X 5 times or something before you can't listen to it again.
That would send me right back to Pandora.
I don't understand that at all. What is the reason? Oh,
it's a music licensing. Yep, it is a licensing issue, and for some reason, I don't know why, it's not an issue here in America.
I mean, people complain about products a lot, and for like those reasons, and they don't realize the licensing deals that go behind it. Like everybody complains that you can't get 1080p movies in iTunes, and Apple would never say why you can't, but it's a licensing reason. It's not like these companies are never like, I'm gonna really screw you. It's like it's always the labels.
They want to sell Blu-rays.
Exactly.
What
They're
I gotta
highly
say?
profitable.
Many times.
Yeah.
How come Apple doesn't allow me to listen to your podcast without opening iTunes? That's the other thing that always has kind of irked me a little bit.
Well, you can listen to it on YouTube.
Well, yes, and I do listen to it on YouTube, but there have been many a time that I've gone to your iPod or a podcast page and wanted to listen to it, and I've never understood that if I was on their website, why I needed iTunes to access the content.
That is probably because they do not host the content. I do.
Yeah.
Oh.
That's our fault. So like the Landcast that Shawn was recently on, they also host their content, but they pay for like more expensive servers so that you can stream it right on their
streamable content.
You can stream it right there on their website. So
I see.
Yeah.
Apple has a preview of each of our podcasts that is probably only a couple meg. I have the whole podcast myself stored on my domain that I'm paying for, and when you sync your library with iTunes and it checks for a new update, it will ping my website and see if there are any new ones, and then it'll download it.
I had no idea that's how that works.
Yep, I didn't. Okay. I actually don't think I really understood it all until I went about making one, and I was like, "Oh, I need to put them on my website? Okay." I thought I just could send it somewhere.
On your Mac, you will notice that you have a little in what service is it in? It's in one of the iLife suites.
It actually was. I know what you're talking.
Podcasting.
Yes, and it was on the dock when we got it. And one of the things I promised Alicia was that, with the exception of possible webcam videos, I will not involve her computer in my production. So
Smart woman.
I wouldn't. Yeah,
I don't. I think we made a pretty ironclad agreement.
That sucks, man. These things are for making things.
Oh no, I said webcam video and GarageBand. I'm allowed to check out GarageBand.
Oh,
the webcam is excellent.
Yeah, I've always noticed that MacBook webcam videos are great.
Like when at the very, very end of when I was recording YouTube videos, I switched over to a Mac, and immediately the quality of my videos just like quadrupled, like without me having to do anything. And I was like, wow, this is great. I love Apple. So we actually have a
little halo on top of it and say, thank you for giving us your soul, but here's your excellent quality video. I guess it's no different than Google, though. So,
yeah, no. See, the thing, I say this all the time. The thing with Apple is I'm paying them. Like, I know that I'm trapped, but I made that decision. With Google, it's all this advertisement, and all of the payments are all in the background. You can't see it. It's all deceptive. And
it's kind of like, because of what you've talked about before, we're not the customers of Google.
Right. Yes.
We are not the customers. Advertisers.
There's age-old saying from probably from the Mad Men era. If you aren't paying for the service, you are not the customer. You're the product. That you are being sold. Your eyeballs are being sold.
There are so many YouTube creators that complain about.
I guess that's the difference.
YouTube doing things and like, why is YouTube doing this to me? And I'm like, they're not doing it to you. They're doing it for the advertisers. You're not paying for it.
No.
Exactly. But anyway, so like I was saying, we got a show to do.
When?
So want to do some follow-up?
Did we start?
Want to do some follow-up from this week? Have we started yet?
I don't know.
Are we on? Anyway,
I thought we were.
We only have two. I have one piece of follow-up and then something for Shawn from something he mentioned. So,
okay.
Will sent in this commercial. This is like the Apple show today. Will sent in a commercial for the iPhone 4S. Did you both see this one? The Rock God commercial?
I see this one on Hulu fairly frequently.
Yeah.
I don't see a lot of commercials. I block them all. So.
There you go. Well, this is a new. Okay, whatever. This is a new Apple ad for the iPhone 4S, and it's a young guy, and he's a cool dude. Basically, he's using Siri to ask a series of questions, which obviously are about him learning how to play the guitar and get a band together. And at the end, he tells Siri to call him Rock God, and she says, "All right, from now on, I will call you Rock God." And we'll want to know what we thought of it. You have any thoughts?
Well, it's not the Daisy ad.
No, no, it certainly isn't. It's not
in the realm of ads that we were talking about before. I don't think it's comparable. At first I was kind of annoyed by it. Now I think it definitely has a charm to it, but it's probably not the best Apple ad I've seen lately.
Yeah, I'm not thrilled with it, frankly. I thought it was pretty weak sauce. So
it's just kind of cutesy.
I would rank it against another commercial, or like if a good commercial would have to be ranked against Old Spice, the Old Spice Man. So was it better or worse than that? Probably not as funny.
Close.
Well then,
not even close.
I think it's hard to rank against that. That commercial was phenomenal.
My input is completely unfair though, as I have not viewed it. So.
Well, you're not missing much.
You're not
good to know.
Much. I mean, it is outside of what Apple usually does in those commercials. What they usually do is, and I guess this is mostly for the iPad, and they usually show apps. They usually show, like, look at these really cool things you can do with your iPad. You can, like, look at X-ray images if you're a doctor, and you can, like, you have a whole GarageBand thing in here. You can make a whole song. And this one was just kind of, like, cutesy and fun and whatever. And also, I feel like they're like really pushing Siri, and I'm a little I don't understand that very much.
I think it could have something to do with the public reaction to it, which has not seemed overwhelmingly positive.
Carter,
hasn't been great. Yes,
I have a question. Do you watch The Big Bang Theory?
I do not.
Ah,
But are you
well,
talking about the Siri person? Like, no.
yeah. There's
Go on.
there's an entire episode where one of the characters, they're all nerds, but the premise is that this particular nerd has difficulty with women, so he's a little needy. He
I
gets
can't
this
imagine
new.
a nerd would have that problem.
The entire episode must have been sponsored by Apple, but he meets Siri, as one does, and the entire thing is about him and Siri and how he interacts with Siri. And eventually, towards the end, he kind of dreams about Siri, and Siri becomes there's a live action person representing Siri.
Is she
And
hot?
She's extremely hot.
Good.
But
As you'd expect.
you might want to look that one up just for your amusement, I think, in terms of Siri.
I've seen the clip of the dream, and it's funny.
Yes.
I was talking to a friend of mine just like earlier today about this. There's too much good television out right now. Like there's no way that I can keep up with everything that everyone is like. You should be watching this.
Yeah, like me. I keep adding on to your queue.
Well,
as far
I
as
did Parks and Rec,
sitcoms go.
yeah, I mean, I did Parks and Rec, and I love it, and I'm caught up.
I've been
So now I can
enjoying
move
your
on to-
tweets. Random Ron Swanson
I
quotes
love
and
Ron
stuff.
Swanson so much. He is. I would go out on a limb and I'm not up on a lot of other things, a lot of other sitcoms. He is one of the best sitcom characters, if in all of the current running sitcoms, and maybe in like the history of sitcoms. He is like such an amazing, wonderful character. I love
Entertainment
him.
Weekly definitely agrees. They talk about him all the time.
He's hysterical. Anyway, all right. So I think we've, as a community, we've decided we don't really care for this iPhone 4S commercial.
Good. It's settled then.
Done.
Get something else better out there. Did you guys see I think we talked about this. Did you see the Santa one where he used Siri? I thought that was a lot better.
No.
No, it's like Santa, and he's using Siri. Like, what's the weather like in Topeka? And it's like him going all over all of the world delivering presents using Siri to help him out. And it's like, you have 3 billion appointments, and it was cute, and it was much more fun.
See, they were going for cute with this, and it just didn't quite land.
Yeah, I don't know what exactly is wrong with it, but I didn't like it. So, Shawn, I got a question for you, and Elaine, if you want to weigh in. You mentioned, Shawn, in your top 5 albums video, that you think "Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy" is Kanye's best album.
Sure. I'm also prone to hyperbole.
Right. Would you say? Do you think, or have an opinion on this question? Do you think it's better than Watch the Throne?
I would say... Okay, you're asking me if it's better or if I like it more.
But well, how about both? Is it objectively better, and which one do you like more?
We watched Midnight in Paris, and they're talking in that movie about, like, during the 1920s, how all these amazing artists were in one place at one time, like over a period of a couple years, just about all the best literary and painting and music and whatever, all those people were in Paris. And when I was thinking about My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, I was thinking about how for like a 3-month period, all of the greatest hip-hop musicians and then some filled a studio in Hawaii and created something amazing. So I'm going to say that objectively, I believe the amazing mind meld that created that album is better than Watch the Throne.
And do you prefer it?
Yes. I actually Watch the Throne is great, and I love Jay, but even Otis, like, I don't understand how that won Song of the Year, like, or the best song of the year, because it doesn't do anything for me.
I think that's right. I think that Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, when I first heard it, I downloaded it when it came out, and I was traveling, and I listened to the whole thing like in an airport in the middle of nowhere, and it was like 1 o'clock in the morning. I was in a connecting flight. I was so pissed. I hate flying, and it was like I can remember like scenes of this hallway in this airport of just like listening to this album and being like, oh my god, this is like the most amazing thing I've ever heard.
It's an amazing combination of so much stuff. And I've always liked Kanye. I even like his stupid auto-tune album that people complain about. But that album, I just love every single song.
It has my very favorite Nicki Minaj bit.
Is it Monster?
It is Monster.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
That is incredible. I love her on that Drake song, "Make Me Proud," but oh my god, Monster is just like so crazy good.
That was the first time I heard that album was the first time I heard her, and I didn't even realize like that she was on some of the songs because of the way she makes her voice sounds. I didn't realize she opened the album, and when I got to Monster, I was like, who in the world is this chick MC who has like 3 different voices?
And I'd heard some of her other earlier stuff, which is annoying, not good at all. And this is just like was a revelation. When I mean, oh boy.
I guess Kanye knows how to handle her.
We gotta we gotta stop like just praising this to the nines, even though it deserves it. Do you like hip hop, Elaine?
Well, as you could tell by my silence, I'm completely out of my depth, but I'm enjoying your conversation. I don't listen to Kanye. I don't really listen to hip hop. No.
It's all right. My mom doesn't either. She's gonna be bored right now.
Well, I'm kind of like your mom then. Yeah. Me and your mom can hang out.
So, sometimes we go off and talk about like video games for 20 minutes, and I think we lose a lot of our audience. So we thought we should like have a diversion into hip hop. We're gonna hit everything. It's a podcast.
No, I think that's completely appropriate.
Yeah,
it's fine. Yes.
We should to bring him back. We should talk about Skrillex.
Oh god.
Okay, never mind. Back up.
Back.
Save your repulsion. I don't want that either.
Can I tell you my Island 5?
Yes, let's do that. Let's start with some random questions. Will asked this on the Twitter. He asked if we had. He asked 2 random questions, and we're not answering.
They were both the same question. The second one was just, "What's your favorite?"
Yeah, I know, but that was phrased weird, and it made me uncomfortable.
That's why I changed it to Desert Island.
Yes. So, if you were stuck on a desert island, what 5 albums would you take with you, and why, Elaine?
Okay. So I probably overthought this, because I have a hard time. I can identify the artists that I enjoy, and I know what my favorite songs are of those people, and it turned out that my 5 were the hits or the very best of or the hits so far, or like all these.
She's a singles person, not an albums person.
And I thought that wasn't fair. Like that was out of the spirit of the question, but I wasn't certain. So let me just start off by saying.
So you're gonna take like the very best of Motown?
Well, no, not really. I went ahead and picked specific albums as well if I was forced to take an album, instead of a compilation. So either way. But Billy Joel, and the album I picked for him was An Innocent Man. And then the Eagles, and the album I picked for them was the live album where they did Seven Bridges Road. Love Seven Bridges Road. And Queen, of course. And I picked Hot Space because of Pressure with David Bowie. And then Pink, because I love Pink. Sorry. And then
What's wrong with
I'm Not
you
Dead.
can like Pink?
Because of your astounding
I think Shawn and I both
silence.
like Pink.
Okay. And then
I like Pink. Come on.
I guess I just kind of expect you guys, you're talking about Kanye. Maybe you don't like Pink. Well, Pink has some hip hop in her, a little bit. Okay, never mind.
She's a
Five is I went because I'm like I'm gonna have to have some sort of dance in there, and so I went with Daft Punk and Interstellar 555 or called Discovery. But
Right.
That has
Have you seen Interstellar 5555?
absolutely.
No one has seen that.
Well, now one person has seen it.
I thought I was the only one.
Oh, 2.
Yeah,
Shawn.
I've seen that.
Shawn, if you've seen it, someone's seen it. Why would you say such a ludicrous thing?
Because I thought no one besides me.
Okay.
I like the diversity of your list. If since you brought up Billy Joel, I think if I were picking a Billy Joel album, I would go with The Stranger.
I would also go with The Stranger. But that's pretty... I think that's, what everybody would pick except for you, Elaine.
But why The
It's such a
Stranger?
safe Billy Joel pick.
Because it's got Scenes from Italian Restaurant, amongst other amazing piano epics on it.
Well, it's hard to pick an album of his that doesn't have amazing music on it. But
There
that's because
are
Billy Joel
that record player that sits behind me in my vlogs. I've got probably 7 Billy Joel albums that were my parents down there. All of them amazing.
And I felt bad
That's
because
choice.
only 5. I had to leave out Frank Zappa. I had to leave out Dead Mouse. I had to leave out all these other really great artists that I listened to, like Clockwork.
Well, now you're stuck without them for the rest of your life on that desert
The rest of
island.
my life, only Billy Joel and the Eagles. Oh no.
I always think of Big Lebowski. I hate the Eagles, man.
Oh, that guy's wrong. No, the Eagles, of course.
All right, Carter, how much classic rock are you spending listening to on your album?
That would be a bagel right there.
Oh.
Bagels. Yeah, sorry. Mine's a little non-traditional, and also I will say that one of my albums is a cop-out. It's similar to the best of thing that Elaine mentioned. It's not a best of, but I think it's a cop-out. So that album is Dark Was the Night, which is recorded by various artists. So that is my cheap way of getting a lot of the music that I like onto the desert island. But it is an album, and it is not a best of. And
I
most
get
of the
Yeah, I agree. But all the ones. So, I'm talking over you. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Go.
It's okay.
Go.
So if people want to say that is a cop out, you can do that. The rest of mine are full albums, and I picked the music the music and something else that was the most meaningful in my like development. So obviously that means that I had to bring Ben Folds' "Rock in the Suburbs," my teenage anthem album.
We all like piano rock.
We all do. I would be taking the 1996 original cast recording of Rent.
I mean, cool.
Oh,
Right.
you went a direction I didn't even think to go. Musicals.
That would have been Alicia's direction if I'd asked her.
Phantom of the Opera. Forever.
Huge. Oh God! If I was forced to listen to the Phantom of the Opera original soundtrack forever, that's like one of the rings of hell. Oh God! I loved the Phantom of the Opera, but like I would not want to listen to the music like on repeat.
There's a sequel now. Did you know?
Yeah. Andrew Lloyd. Yeah, he was recording the music on a synthesizer, and the memory was deleted, and he lost everything, and he had to start over. Did you hear about that?
No, I didn't hear about that.
Several years ago, that happened.
You don't make backups if you're Andrew Lloyd Webber?
He didn't.
Apparently not.
How foolish.
He's too big for backups. He's beyond using Mosey or whatever.
Okay, my fourth one is The Moon in Antarctica, Modest Mouse. Their greatest album.
Wow,
and
I'm not even familiar with that one. I know 2 of their albums. I don't know that one.
Good News for People Who Love Bad News and the newer one.
Yes.
Their older stuff is amazing. I can't think of the name of it. Their older
one
stuff
with
is
Dashboard,
very
whatever that is.
amazing. Yeah. Their older music is awesome, and it's very different. It's very raw, kind of like alt rock from the 90s. Albums like Interstate 8 and I'm blanking on some of the names. They're awesome. They're very different. This album, Moon in Antarctica, was kind of where they transitioned into their more like sweeping guitar stuff and like Isaac Brock doing like crazy stuff with lyrics. And then finally, I would bring Definite Article, the recording of Eddie Izzard's best comedy.
Okay, you're taking a comedy. You won't get sick of a comedy album?
No, that's an amazing performance that he gives.
The jokes would never get old.
You'd have to hope.
I've been listening to it like frequently for years, so I think I'll be good on the desert island.
You're doing all right so far.
Yeah, so those are my 5.
Huh. Yeah, I didn't think to go the route of musicals or comedy albums.
I was thinking of like, what do I enjoy to listen to, like, generally, not just
you start
music.
picking podcasts.
My tactic was, what's the music that I always go back to and I haven't gotten tired of my entire life so far?
Yeah, that's kind of what I did for mine.
Yeah,
I picked
Shawn,
a lot of things that I listened to when I was a teenager.
Yeah, you recorded your 5, but you say that you got a new 5.
Yeah, just like Ron, who commented his 5 and then came back the next day and was like, I've rethought my entire list. I woke up the next day and I had rethought my entire list. So these are my alternate 5. You know, like I've got 2 bags and I'm on my way to the desert island. I'm only going to grab one. This is what is in the other bag. I have Nevermind by Nirvana. Mm-hmm. I have Crash by Dave Matthews Band, which is my favorite studio album by them. I have Any Given Thursday by John Mayer, which is a live album, so both of my lists had a live album. I had Asia by Steely Dan, and then my alternate Beatles album, because I still have to take a Beatles album, is Let It Be.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't want to cut the Beatles, but I'm like, I gotta pick the Eagles over the Beatles.
I don't know if that was the correct decision.
I love the Eagles, though. That's the childhood thing, though. You know, my dad played them for me all the time, so.
Okay, we'll allow it because of a parental connection.
Oh, yeah.
I think these are all very strong picks, and interesting and diverse.
Good. We've satisfied the requirement.
I could put more than 5 CDs in my bag, just saying. Like, get my MP3 player out.
Someone's list had 4 albums, and then the 5th was my iPod.
Can't do that.
Someone did.
Yeah. Oh, well.
Not the point of the exercise.
Right. To make you feel sad that you're cutting everybody else out.
Right.
Like,
well, to keep it back in childhood days, we have a second random question, this one from Ron, and he wants to know if any of us ever participated in a spelling bee.
Yeah, I have.
yes.
Do either of you have any? Yeah, I have as well. Any thoughts? Any strong connections?
You don't remember when I competed against you both back in 4th grade? I hold it against you to this day. Why do you think I brought you here today?
Oh, dang it. My connections with spelling usually are I'm not good at it. So, I watched other people participate in the spelling bee because I was out the first round. So I sat down and watched everybody else spell. Was amazed at them.
Do either of you remember the word that disqualified you, or that you had to spell to win if you won your spelling bees?
I wish I did. I don't know. I think mine was in I want to say 3rd or 4th grade. I know. I remember the kid who did win because I remember he got to go to. I think he went to DC to compete. And I was super jealous because I was one of the smart kids and I was not good at spelling and I continue to not be good at spelling.
It took me a long time to come to peace with me and my spelling woes, but it's just not a strength of mine.
I have a problem that I don't know if I have mild dyslexia or something, but I literally mix up P's, B's, D's, and what's another one that looks like one?
Q.
I don't mix up the Q when I'm spelling out loud, but I will mix up P's, B's, and D's when I'm spelling a word out loud for some reason. And I will always mix them up when I'm writing. I've never figured it out. It's been a problem probably over a decade.
I have a problem with vowels and which vowels to use. I'm all right with my consonants, but not my vowels.
There are certain words that no matter how many times I write them out, I will never be able to spell them, ever. One of them being the word guarantee.
Oh,
I can't for the life of me spell that word.
I have problems with guarantee and restaurant, where all the vowels go in there.
It's
there you
really
go.
it's a really interesting like exercise in like how people's minds start like working. I have a lot of cruft from when I was young that still is there. Like I can't spell certain words without like saying in my head the component words inside of them. Like if I'm spelling together, I have to do to get her. I cannot spell
Really?
it if I don't do to get her.
It's just
Okay.
it's automatic.
Yeah, or father, fat, her. There are a number of words that I have to do
I've
that.
never
and if I
even
don't-
heard of that one. Fat her father.
And it's not normal. It's just like that's how I learned how to spell it when I was like in second grade, and I never was able to get past that. I never like graduated second grade for those words.
There are tons
Hey,
of
no
things in my
shame.
brain
No
that
shame.
the way I remember it is by remembering that it's not a certain way, which makes absolutely no sense. Like my brain is hardwired to remember that this is not that, and that's why I remember that it is the other thing.
I used to
Yeah.
smell what? No, I used to spell tomorrow to arrow or something like that. I put together the two words incorrectly. So even now, when I spell tomorrow, I have to remember that it's not the word arrow. It's
It's
the
a
word.
permanent synapse connection in your brain. You just can't
Yeah.
deconnect it
Yeah.
for some reason.
Yeah, totally.
It's bizarre.
I actually remember the word that disqualified me when I was in third grade. It was whirlpool.
Oh, do you know what you missed?
I didn't get the H.
The
I didn't
silent
get
H.
It was like second
a
or
killer.
third grade. That's a hard word.
What's with all these silent letters that don't make sense? That's not fair.
Welcome to English.
Just like the most thing that I remember about spelling in particular, or when I knew that I was bad at it, was when I couldn't spell the word cat. All the way back in kindergarten. What have you?
Were you pulling the KAT?
I did pull out a KAT, and I don't think my teacher meant anything bad by this, but I was so bad on my spelling list that I had to sit separately away from the class and learn how to spell.
Whoa.
And it scarred me for life, perhaps.
Aw.
I was a couple months away from having to take speech classes because I couldn't pronounce my R's. And then all of a sudden I snapped out of it, and my mom was glad I didn't have to be separated to go to speech class.
I was about to say you do pretty well with ours now.
Yeah, I think I'm doing all white.
How do you guys feel about the fact that they're taking cursive and writing out of elementary school and public schooling in general? That they're
Just
not
get
going
rid
to
of
teach
that.
it anymore?
Cursive? That's fine.
Get rid of that.
Get rid of it.
Gone?
That would be like teaching like how to drive a buggy.
That would be like
know.
slapping a kid for using his left hand to write. Like it doesn't matter anymore. It's a relic of a lost time.
Well, what are we going to do when the machines rise and we can't use computers anymore?
We're all gonna write in cursive.
I'll ask you why. I'll ask you. Why Google is doing this horrible thing to us.
I don't know. I was going to blame Apple.
We'll have this fight soon, Elaine. It's the next thing on our topics list.
All right. Anyway.
In fact, by soon, I mean now.
Oh, okay.
Ding ding
Moving
ding.
on. John, I have an XKCD for us. It was I think from Monday this week. I'll send it to Shawn. It's called "So It Has Come to This," and it's the comic is it's a woman on the left and she's holding something and it says, "We ran out of cat food." There's a guy on the right. He kind of looking down. He says, "So it has come to this," and at the bottom comment is pro tip: if you're not sure what to say, try "So it has come to this." It creates instant dramatic tension and is a valid observation in literally any situation
It always works.
because it's true and it's so it has come to this.
It's kind of like
I'm gonna-
Vonnegut in Slaughterhouse 5, isn't it? And so it what? And what is it? I'm forgotten now.
I'm going to try to replace "so it has come to this" with or insert "it is what it is," because I end up saying that eventually when there's nothing positive to say, because life is just sometimes it's just there. You can't do anything with it. So maybe I'll just start saying "so it has come to this," and I'll seem like a much more insightful person.
And people will be like, "There's that girl that always says," and so it's come to this. What is that
I know,
about?
right? It's like a deep thinking to do. I'm
You
plotting.
will immediately gain drama points. if you
Exactly.
use that enough. But anyway, it has come to this. We decided to.
It is
have a
so
fight.
it goes that Vonnegut decided to use like 100 times in the book. 106 times. So it goes.
So it goes. So it goes. So it goes that Elaine and I and maybe Shawn will referee. We're gonna fight about Android and iPhones because she hates iPhones for no reason.
Plenty of
For no
reasons.
She must be one of our commenters.
Yeah, exactly. You know what I find so weird is that like 90% of the people who listen to this are PC people with Android phones, and we talk about Macs and iPhones. Why are you listening? I'm driving them away. Never mind. What actually I wanted to know is, what do you like about your Android phone? Because I had a phone, I had an Atrix for work, and I hated it. I couldn't make it work. So I'm just wondering what the other side looks like. Like,
Well, first, allow me to hand out the olive branch and say thank you so much, Apple, for designing a product that we could steal and make better.
See, at least she knows what's going on.
Basically, no, I am not going to sit here and say, oh my gosh, it's inventive, it is new. No, it's not. In fact, the reason that I like it better basically is because of its open market. That's all there really is coming down. If you asked me which one I preferred, I would prefer to not have my hand held as much as Apple wants me to hold their hand and their kung fu grip.
So do you prefer like Sony and Microsoft over Nintendo for the same reason?
Oh my gosh, you're going to break my heart.
Because we had this conversation, I think, last week. How Nintendo basically employs the exact same strategy of keeping everything locked down and inside their market, and I think that's a fine strategy.
It comes down to how I use these products. Like, the reason that I don't like Apple, or my experiences with Apple were so frustrating, because I wanted to really enjoy their product, but I felt like I didn't have the accessibility that I wanted to have the control.
You got that rainbow
product.
wheel for like 10 minutes and you couldn't do anything.
Well, I don't know. No, I actually, what happened was that I was using the iPad and I didn't like the way that my files were. I didn't like the fact that I couldn't move my movies around, or I couldn't organize it the way that I wanted to, and I felt like by forcing me to plug this product in and register it with my iTunes on one computer. Same thing with the iPod or the iPhone, I guess. That really gets to me. I want my device, which is portable and coming with me, to be as equally accessible to everything that I would choose to have it interact with. So,
yeah, now I'm not going to defend Apple on that one there.
Yeah, they keep their file structure locked down too.
Well, that I am going to defend them on, but the whole like one device, one computer thing is a relic of the old iPod days, and that is, once again, that's a licensing thing. If Apple could get away with it, they would, where you could have that device be associated with multiple devices. I think it's just that there are these old, music and movie studio executives who are crazy, and they're like, well, I've heard about the internet from my grandkid, and I think that if we, this internet seems bad, and people are going to be like stealing all of our stuff if you're able to have devices go between multiple computers, so we don't want that. And Apple's like, that's insanity. You can't do that. And they're like, no, we want you to make a one device, one computer policy, and to get our stuff in your iTunes store. Android doesn't have that fault, but at the same time, if you use Android, you have to go find that content yourself. Right. You have to be able to BitTorrent, or you have to go find it somewhere and then get it on your device. They make it easy to get on your device, but I think that if they had to do those deals with movie studios and music studios, they would have the same problem.
There's other cloud services, though. Once again, thank you, Apple, for blazing the way for us here. But with things like Spotify, for example, that's not really an issue with the Android. So when I bought my phone, this was 3 months ago, I did an extensive comparison research, also listening to the podcast here, listening to what you guys have to say about the Android and the iPhone, and it really got me thinking, and so I did a lot of research. And I specifically went out and I wanted to find the phone that was the most competitive to the iPhone of currentness, and that was the Samsung Galaxy 2, because I don't know if the 3 is out right now. Is it?
It's leaked images, but it's not out.
It's not out. So I have the Galaxy 2. And this thing is like butter. It's so good. There's no, I haven't had any issues with it. No, like I know some people. I think the fault is with the consumer. They don't buy a good phone. They don't research their phones, and that's on them. They need to go out and research their electronics before they buy them. So
yeah. I think you're right that it's probably the most competitive with the iPhone. And from what that has ice cream sandwich on it, right? That's got the newest version of the operating system.
I could look up what I got. Do you want me to look?
I think it does. I think it does. We don't like to do that kind of research on here, Elaine. We just say things and have people correct us in the comments.
Oh, well, I have a very, very fast phone, and it's very good, and it's not buggy.
Yeah,
So-
I've heard from friends who have that particular phone, and then also the Verge is a website that I have a lot of faith in, where Josh Topolsky runs that shop. They have reviewed that phone and that operating system, and they have said that it finally is not stuttery, jittery, like it feels more like iOS. Like things scroll smoothly, and you can navigate through it without like problems. Which
and that was my concern. I'll be straightforward. I wanted an iPhone or iPad experience that was not Apple, and I have found it here in my phone, and I love it. I love it so.
I think that's legitimate. The one thing that I'm gonna say is the whole file system thing, or actually the exposure of a file system.
I have something to say about this too after playing with Alicia's computer. So go.
Yeah, Apple is pushing further and further, and we're going to see even more of this in like Mountain Lion and their desktop operating system. They are trying to their vision for products is that you interact with an application, and when you're in that application, everything that you've done there is there and accessible to you at hand, but that is the logical organization of stuff. And maybe inside of the application you can create kind of a folder structure, but they don't want you kind of like rifling through the actual like what they consider a back end, like actually interacting with the file system. And I think that they're right on this, because abstraction, like in all of humanity, abstraction increases over time, and we're just going to get to a point where it's just like, oh man, I got to deal with this file system. Why can't I just open up my application and do stuff? And I think that we will be at a point soon, and I think you can see it with Windows 8 as well, where almost all computer products, their operating system has a file system underneath. And if you're a dork or a nerd, you can like lift up the covers and get to it, but that the primary interaction is going to be application based and not interacting with. I think that's where everything is heading. And
Carter, the huge can of worms that you've just opened in my mind, but that has to do with what I do for a living and everything like that. I think there's a definite need for. Okay, I'm going to have to think. My mind is. Go, Shawn. Go.
Shawn, you want to say
when
something?
We started setting up her computer, and I like started looking for downloads, I'm like, okay, I'll go find Spotify. I'll get World of Warcraft installed. I started downloading the programs for it, which are on a Mac. Are they DMG files?
Yeah, they're disk images.
Okay, right, disk. Yes, it's a disk image, which blew my mind, because I was like, wait, I have to install it, right? And then it's like, no, just move this in your applications. And I was like, wait, what? And I move it in the application and start it, and it pops in as a loaded disk, and I was like, oh. And then I gave it back to Alicia, and she was playing with it for a little bit, and she was like, how do I get to the program I'm downloading? And I was like, oh, you just move it to the applications folder. And she's like, don't I have to install it? And I was like, no, isn't that smart? You just drop it in, and it's just like it acts as a fully featured program right when you download it. And she was like, why can't I see the file? And I was like, no, it's smarter this way, because it's doing all the work for you. You think because you've used a Windows computer for over 15 years of your life that you need to look at that stuff, but I don't think we do. I think we're at a point where we can let the computer handle all that stuff for most users.
I mean, it's like back, we used to interact with computers at the command line level. So you would have, like, the computer would sit at you, like, sort of stone-faced with the little blinking, terminal line, which is basically like, yes.
What will you have me do, master?
And you have to type in these things, you know, mkdir, I want to start making a directory, you know, and I'm going to fill it with these files and these folders and move them around. And then we moved to a graphical interface, which basically said you can still get, like, terminal is still on.
You can always
the Mac,
still get there, yeah.
Right. And in Windows, it's command in Windows, the command line. You can still get there. You can still do all of those things. You know, there's the base,
and they're still happening.
macOS.
They're always happening.
Right.
You just don't. You're not looking at them.
Right, the base of macOS is Darwin, and it's basically Unix, and you can open up terminal and you can do Unixy things, but you can also then just interact with it, you know, through the Finder, which is, you know, this sort of logical hierarchy of files. And soon we will get to a point where you will interact with things just at the application level, where, you know, you make stuff and it gets stored in the file structure, but it's all just kind of, you know, in a side pane in your application. You never really know where that file is unless you, like, lift up the covers. I think that Apple was right.
That bothers me. That deeply bothers me. Call me. I have to have control.
There are always going to be people in the business sector who need that type of control. I don't think we'll ever get away from that.
Well, there's a couple things that can be solved by the programming. I mean, if that's the way it's going to be, then at least for the future, and I know a lot of people will never be aware of what a universal file type is versus what can only be used by specific programs. One that comes to mind is a PSD file versus a TIFF file, for example. And all that stuff can be handled by an application. I get that. But when you're working with data and you got to understand your programs, your data, your equipment, everything in front of you, to me, I'm the kind of person that needs to understand that so that I can back up my files or use them the way that I want to use them, or know that I'm using a universal format, and where is that, and what do I need to save, or am I using a program that is, if you take the control away from me and it puts so much dependence on the people, the programmers, and the product that I'm buying, oh man, I don't know if I trust the corporations with the things that I'm creating, especially with creative content. So
right, I mean, in my work, I deal with, you know, with databases and, you know, like complex data structures, and I also I use the terminal a lot because I have to. I need to be able to manipulate things at a very fine, granular level, and that is available to me. I can get there, but I can also interact with things just like moving file. Like I couldn't just move files around with a mouse to do my job. Like I have to be able to, like, quickly make whole, you know, folder structures and, you know, set my databases on top of them and query things and have things move around and have, like, automatic cron jobs. But, like, I have that available to me. But, like, I think what Apple what their vision is, if they get that stuff out of your hand for a certain class of applications, particularly things like, you know, iMovie and iPhoto and that sort of stuff.
Anything that is the iPad generation of applications.
Yeah, you'll be able to do more with them. You'll be able to. You won't have to spend a lot of time worrying about, you know, creating a whole bunch of folders for stuff and, like, where is my stuff, and you'll be able to just start making things right away. But for other people, they're not going to be able to do that. They're just going to have to operate at a different level.
I think you're right, though, because when I
think we're all right.
I see a big division of the types of computer users there are. There are probably people more like Carter and I, and any programmer, and the people who use these computers for digital professional means. And then there's everybody else. Yeah. Sorry, everybody else, but, you know, people like my mom, you know,
the content consumers.
Right, who don't really understand nor want to understand, and they don't really want to mess it up either. They just want to use it. And I actually have a problem with the connotation of the word user. When I first heard it, even years ago, I was like, that's a very mean way to describe somebody who's using a computer. You know, there's people who
to imply that the computer is using them.
Yes, actually. I was like, oh, that's really disturbing. But that is definitely kind of what I think Apple is zeroing in on, is like most people, they don't need to be messing with it. They just want to watch their movies and play their games and be able to chat with people and have it on the go, and you don't need to see the file.
I remember in elementary school we had, I think a lot of schools all over the country have labs that are Apple labs because they're so into education, and they usually provide discounts and stuff. And since I was a PC person at home, when I would come in, I would be like, why is this computer so locked down and I can't see anything and I can't go anywhere? And I now see that it's because I was in a herd of sheep that needed to be corralled, and that was what the purpose of the Macs was.
I mean, if you think about, I know that, Elaine, you can call me a fanboy here if you want, but if you think about the philosophical foundations of Apple in creating the Mac, particularly what Steve Jobs has said, like when he was first describing the Mac in 1984, he called it a bicycle for the mind, right? And it wasn't, but that's what he wanted. He wanted something that would let normal, everyday people do extraordinary things.
This is when personal computing wasn't even a thing. Like,
right.
Hewlett-Packard refused to invest in it. They didn't know what it would be for.
Right. And if you give an iPad to an 80-year-old person who's never used a computer before, they can turn it on and start using it, and they can make things that, frankly, it would be very difficult for them to do on a PC or even a Mac. Likewise with very young children. Or exactly, very young children.
Yeah, and there's something to be said about that intuitiveness. There is a big, huge market there for what we use electronics for. I just hope I never see the other half go away. Like, I know the really popular things, but I get titchy. I get kind of like, no, you can't do that. I need to know what you're doing with my information. I need to know what you intend with my creative content. Like, I'm just very aware of how bad things can get, and I guess that's why I don't mind Google, because I understand what Google's doing, and so I don't.
Do you? Can you explain it to us?
Google wants everything you have.
Because we've been talking about this for weeks, and we can't figure it out.
Well, it kind of goes like this. If you're on the internet, Google has it.
Damn it.
That's what it boils down to, and you can, about the only thing you can do is, at least with your personal creative property or anything like that, just research your programs and try to work outside Google if that's what you're concerned about. I guess I'm of the mentality of the type of person that thinks that if it's not Google, it's somebody else, and that's just where this is going. So, get on board.
We're gonna have a discussion about this soon, but like, I just think that it's lazy that. And also, if you know my line of work, I'm a total hypocrite because I do the same thing that Google does. But I think it's lazy that we think that the only way to monetize content on the internet is with advertising, and that asking people for money is like a total non-starter. I think that is one of my biggest problems with this entire vision of the internet.
Kickstarter is proof that is not the case.
I know. The Kickstarter
happens every single day.
There are many products that successfully monetize themselves by being products for consumers and not advertising platforms. And Google has just decided that no, we're going to be an advertising platform, and I just disagree.
No, they've decided that they're going to be the only advertising platform.
Mm-hmm. They're scary. I will not say that Google's anything less than scary, but how people use the internet, it's all very fascinating. Also, way too long to cover. So,
but we're trying for some reason.
Because we're all on the internet. We're using Skype right now to communicate across the country, and what a world we live in. Crazy.
What a world.
Yes.
Yeah, good conversation. Also, I'll just finish it up by saying that if my Mac ever became iOS-ified to the degree that I was not able to get into the underlying structures, I would be as equally upset as you would be. I believe.
I just don't understand how to use a Mac. That's what it comes down to. I was raised. I used Apples. I even had Macs of 15 years ago. I was on a Mac, but then I did most of my high school work and college, everything on Windows, and so when it comes down to using, I use Windows. So that's what I'm familiar with.
I will admit a dirty little secret that I have Parallels on my Mac that has a Windows virtual machine on it for the little bit of work I need to do on Windows. So I've not escaped from Windows.
I think it's an advantage of it that it can run both.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean,
There's two things.
You don't see any Windows machines running iOS, do you?
We should just all move to Linux.
And if you
right?
do, they are in violation of a number of things.
Yes.
In fact, I'm amazed I haven't yet. I'm just saying. We're leaving it completely out of the conversation. We're talking about the two
There's a
big
reason
competitors.
why we're leaving it out of the conversation.
And why would that be? Wait a minute. Isn't Apple just basically Linux with a new T-shirt on it?
No, it's Unix with a new T-shirt on it. But like, let's be clear. FreeBSD but they've made so many changes to it, and it's like we don't need to. No, we're not going down that road.
I declare this conversation dead.
It's done.
Okay.
Until he thinks about it later. He's going to think about it all week. You'll be talking about it
until all of our commenters tell us about all their Linux machines.
I'm probably wrong, and we're not a majority PC fan base audience. They're all on Linux.
I don't know. I should start putting surveys out there for the audience.
I know nothing about Linux, so my authority here is done. There we go.
All right. So is that part of the conversation? So I have choose your own adventure group. I have talking about iPad 3 rumors because someone asked us to. But we're going a little long. So do we want to skip that and go straight to Marble Hornets and maybe talk about it next week after it's out?
Right. I think we should wait till it's out. We'll have much more to say about facts than rumors, I think.
Yes.
Yep.
So I could run through all the rumors, and there are many of them. And
I wouldn't mind discussing the rumor about Flight. I was pretty excited about that. I think the app is called Magic Carpet. You can just hop on top of it and it flies.
No, and we need invisibility. We've had this conversation before. Not Flight. I will put to bed this one single rumor. I just don't think it's true. Some people on the internet think that they are going to do like an Apple TV announcement or some other type of announcement at this event. That is so incredibly false. There's no way that they're going to. I will stake my reputation that there will only be iPad and iOS related announcements this week at that event. There's no way that they're going to step on that with Apple TV stuff. No way. So
that will be its own
Marble
thing.
Hornet. Marble Hornets, guys. Huh?
Yeah.
Marble.
Yeah.
I have a hard time saying that. Marble Hornets. Anyway.
MH. Call it MH.
I can call
Hornets.
it MH.
So I think we've gone about this a few different ways because Carter has watched the entirety of Marble Hornets already. Elaine decided to look up the complete timeline and kind of do the cross-referencing thing and experience as much of the first part of the story as she could. And I have done nothing except watch the 6 videos that were assigned. I have done no extra work at all. Just those 6 videos.
Interesting.
Well,
before we start talking about them, there's one piece of information that I left out about this. It's basically something before the introduction even. When this came out, the narrator, I'll spoil his name so that we can refer to him as something besides the narrator. His name is Jay. Jay posted on the Something Awful forums a long post about in character saying, hey, I had this friend Alex, he gave me all these videos and I'm noticing like some interesting stuff, I'm going to start like posting them on YouTube, and then he had a link to the intro video. So this was, and then he continued to post and tweet about all of these, and I'm not going to include any of those poster tweets because that's getting a little in the weeds.
This isn't the Marble Hornets podcast, but...
Right. We're not going to...
This is the Apple podcast.
It's interesting that you're not going to include any of that because I consider it essential to what is happening or what Marble Hornets is, or the Slenderman universe. I almost want to call it the Slenderman universe because Marble Hornets.
We will likely talk about it, but I don't want to assign it.
Yes.
You know. And.
Okay.
So you've done thorough research, and yes, we are talking about the Slender Man mythology. So where this really all comes from is the guy who actually is Jay. I can't think of his name right now. He came the Something Awful forums as like a project, wanted to come up with a new meme that was really scary, and they landed on these photoshopped images of this really tall, skinny, suited man in like the background of like everyday photos, like kids at a pool or whatever. And they called him Slender Man. And this guy who plays Jay, he was like, "That's really interesting. I want to make a video project of this." And then he just started and really didn't know what he was doing or going with this, and then it kind of like ballooned out from there, and that's where the whole Marble Hornets thing like comes from.
The first couple videos all have about 1 million hits. I think the first entry has almost 2.
Yeah.
So you only watched the first 6?
Yeah, the intro and then entry 1 through 5.
What did you think? Being as you don't have all this background, or you didn't look at where all this came from, just watching the 6 videos, what impression were you left with?
I understand. I already understood that it was related to the Slender Man. I just knew that from like general knowledge about the series, like the first time I heard about it months ago or whatever. But basically, I just have the impression that the guy uses too many title cards. I don't. It does now that Carter's told me that he didn't exactly know what he was doing as he began it. That makes sense to me, because I really felt like he spent too much time over explaining himself for the first couple entries. I think there should have been more show, less tell.
Was it disturbing?
I'm not scared by them, but I can, if I turn off my unbelievability, I am disturbed by the concept.
Okay.
I think it is a pretty disturbing concept. I mean, we really don't know much about Slender Man in Marble Hornets is actually referred to as the Operator.
That's a better name.
So we don't really know a lot about the Operator right now, other than he is somehow related to Alex Crawley, and weird things are happening. Like as the series continues, he becomes more of a threat, or other parts of this universe become more threatening. I think that it becomes more interesting. Right now, it's just sort of like creepy, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And
pure representation.
One of the scariest, like one of the most effective things is his use of sound or lack of sound. I've found that pretty interesting.
Yeah, I definitely agree. The first time I heard I watched all of these like in 2 nights back in like December, like at 11:30 at night, and I found them pretty creepy. When I first heard entry, I think 4 or 5. Entry 5 with the severely distorted audio. When it just like happened, I like jumped. I was like, "Whoa, that's scary!" What? Because it's very loud.
Mm-hmm.
So there are a lot of questions, right? After if you just watch the first 6, like. I would have a lot of questions, and I think people do have a lot of questions. So, like, the biggest question that I would have is, like, who the hell is besides the Something Awful post, which doesn't tell you much, like, who's putting these on the internet? Who the hell is this narrator guy, and why is he putting them on the internet?
He's another film student.
But what's his motivation for doing this?
He hated to see the footage go to waste. See, now I'm understanding why all those title cards were in there.
Right.
Shawn has clear understanding. I think, are we talking about the fictional premise of why fictional Jay?
The fictional premise.
Yeah.
Why Jay?
Okay.
Yeah, the character Jay.
Then clearly he's doing it because the human need to not be alone and to broadcast understanding, I think, is why this film student is doing that.
I think that's probably right.
I think you could look at the character motivation of the protagonists in any of the Paranormal Activity movies the same way.
Mm-hmm.
They're about documenting an experience that they seem to think that they're the only one who's noticing this thing, and they've got it. They just feel compelled to try and share it with someone, even if they won't believe them.
Yeah, I mean, I don't actually have inside knowledge on this, or if I do, I've forgotten it. I think that Jay has probably lied a bit in those title cards. I think that it's unlikely that he would start putting these on the internet in the way that he did if he hadn't already noticed
found
some of the
something.
things. Yeah,
I think maybe he found something and needed to put it up. Yeah, that's what I would say too. Even fictionally speaking, nobody would be compelled to do that unless they felt threatened. There's safety in numbers, and I think that's mostly what would motivate somebody to do this. If this was actually happening to somebody, something scary somewhere, and it is also kind of like a disbeliever for me in that, because you don't really see it happening in real life. Or is there a real life?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, can we assume that eventually Jay, like, stuff happens to Jay that is documented?
Do you want to know?
Well, okay, because thinking the way that Elaine was about making people aware of it, if it were actually already, if something was already happening to Jay, it would make more sense that he was trying to get the word out. And if so far everything that's happened has only been to his friend, I guess it is a little weirder that he's so intent on sharing it.
Yeah, he's got to be lying about that, especially because
unless he's involved in the plot somehow.
Right. Because in the title cards he explains that this happened 3 years ago.
Yeah, he forgot about the
long 3 years ago, and I completely forgot about the tapes until now. So, yeah, you have to kind of, I have problems with this suspension of disbelief. Same thing with Lonely Girl 15. She starts out, she's doing her blogs because she's alone, but then a serious threat comes along. You'd think that they would cut her internet connection. Snip. You know, like, it's a point of contention. It's a problem with the premise. But
right.
That
like, I would suggest that we are being lied to there, and that Jay, like, things are happening to Jay. It is hard to believe. It's hard to buy into the premise if you don't, if you think about it for a while. It's hard to buy into it if you don't jump to that conclusion. If you don't
question it.
Right.
Could it be? Doesn't he have like a blackout of 7 months later? But that was actually in the timeline. These 6 videos happened before that blackout. Never mind.
Yes.
Never mind.
Yes.
Okay.
What? Blackout?
Stuff, Elaine.
What? Huh?
Spoiling stuff.
When did that happen?
Okay.
We'll get there.
Well,
we'll get there.
I think Carter's telling me to be good and stay still until we get there.
Be good.
I'm good.
Okay. So, also, okay, so like other questions that I have are things that I want to talk about. So in entry, entry 4, where they're at the playground, do you guys think that he was running away from the operator or running toward the operator at the end as the video was ending?
Yeah, I wondered that myself, because it seemed like he was trying to catch him on camera. It didn't seem like he was being chased. Yeah. It looked like he was trying to get him in front of the camera, and then when he, like, the last shot, he showed the whole playground and he couldn't find him.
Well, I thought there was some speculation on whether, I guess he can see the operator. Like, the operator only showed up on video, but I don't know about that.
Yeah, we're not certain of that. Next week's homework, we will get some more interesting data on what the operator can do and under what circumstances the operator can be seen or can do stuff. But
okay.
Yeah, the other thing about Alex, he's doing some pretty crazy stuff, right? He's filming himself the entire time. He's he's
become super paranoid.
Well, I think it goes a little bit beyond that. He saw someone out and his dog was freaked out by them, so he goes back.
Yeah, that was. I thought that was, and I was like, "Why is he getting out of the car? What is he doing?" I felt like that guy in the movie theater. That it's like, "Don't look behind the door."
That never works. It never works.
It never works. And also, just to further emphasize the "I think Jay is lying" thing, in entry 3, when we discover that Alex is just filming himself, one of the title cards is the clip from entry 1 is the best lead I have. He's like, it seems like a lot of this stuff is just Alex filming himself. The clip from entry 1 is the best lead I have. Lead for what? What are you investigating? What are you trying to find out? What is he doing?
Yeah. Well, I guess that's what, if we want to believe that the person telling the story was, they were on top of their own storytelling, it could be just a mistake. But
Could be.
and let's assume that this is how they wanted to present it, then that would definitely lean heavily towards he's not being entirely truthful. He's not being forthwith about why he's posting these videos or why he needs our help. Aha.
Exactly. Also, there is discussion about all these videos on the Something Awful forums, but they made the conscious decision not to have comments on the YouTube videos. So you can't comment on any of these.
Oh, I didn't even notice. I didn't even...
Yeah.
I clicked them, watched the video, and closed the tab. I didn't even...
I don't even look it up. I mean, I know it came from Something Awful, but I tend to go to other fan-made sites with the timelines that help me blend both the Twitter entries, which seem just as, okay, you could just watch these videos, but this ghost story is being told through Twitter and the forum posts themselves. So, like, Jay, he's playing a fictitious person who's uploading to YouTube. So he'll be talking about it in Twitter, or he'll have these episodes in Twitter that don't involve a video at all.
That's true. There's too much. I mean, I think what we're gonna do is link the wiki with the timeline and all of the collection of a lot of that information. If people want to start digging through that stuff, Shawn included, you should, and we'll try and bring some of that stuff to the podcast.
Mileage will vary depending on how in depth you want to be into it, I guess, because I find that this kind of storytelling is fascinating. And of course, I mentioned Lonely Girl 15, but there's actually something a lot older that I knew about before YouTube was made, using a similar process of these social media sites to tell a ghost story, in essence, or scare you.
What was it called again?
This is I'm speaking about the Dionea house, which was all the way back in 2004. And basically, instead of using, YouTube, here they have a post of various blogs and AIM conversations, AOL, and some live journal content of several different characters interacting over the internet and email stuff and what's happening to this guy. Oh, I'll update you. And there's a little bit of texting in there, but that's about it. So it's a creepy ghost story told.
I would not be surprised if there are members of either our audience or Shawn's larger audience who were not alive when that came out.
You know what? So what? They need to learn about where you youngins need to learn about. Get off my lawn.
I'm glad we brought the old woman on the podcast this week, Carter.
Yes.
Internet's
taking
not
us
that
way
old.
back to 2004
to complain about her use of file management and get kids off her lawn.
Yeah, I know. I
was mudding when I was 9. No, anyway.
I never would have thought we would get into a conversation about the exposure of file systems on this podcast, but it happened. Isn't it interesting that we're so compelled to tell these stories in whatever media that we have? People find ways to tell these stories on Twitter and in blog posts. I just find that endlessly interesting.
And sometimes profitable. The guy who came up with the story Elaine's talking about has written 3 recent horror movies, including Final Destination 5. So he's doing all right.
In fact, I think that the thing I'm talking about was his format to pitch it to the movie studios in the first place of how scary it could be. And people, they're fooled by this. I think that's the other thing. Now we're getting into the resource of urban legend. So
it's like he's pulling an Orson Welles' War of the Worlds on people.
Where's our Facebook horror story? Where's our updated?
Facebook's like, you can't create a fake profile.
Oh, whatever.
Right.
Google Plus.
Well, I mean, the internet gives us Google Plus. I just sent an article to Shawn about how it's a pun intended virtual wasteland over there. Nobody uses Google Plus.
There are some dust balls blowing by.
There's just nothing there. People log on once and then leave it and then never use it again. It's the place where dreams go to die.
Yes.
There is a so like the Slender Man like mythology or like mythos includes many other ARGs like this. Some of them are more popular than others. One of them, and I can't think of the name of it, is it is a group of people who they post a couple of YouTube videos, and they were about like exercising and like diet and health, and like you would notice some like similar things to Marble Hornets, like a visual tear or like some audio distortion, and then Slenderman like in the background in some of them, and you're like, what's this? And eventually they say, what the hell is this? And then eventually in like their fifth or sixth video, they're like, okay, we were trying to rip off Marble Hornets. We don't have a like Slenderman isn't real, but like they then claim that in one of their videos there was a Slenderman that they didn't put in there,
right?
And then they think the premise of these characters think that it's someone like trying to like punk them. And then it turns out that no, it actually is like Slenderman. And one of the things they use is Ustream videos. So like you have to be at a certain place at a certain time to see their performance. Basically, it's not on YouTube, which I think is interesting.
Yeah, there are ARGs I've heard of that involve
so much
like phone calls and faxes and stuff back in the day.
So eventually we'll get somebody who can pull it off, that they'll get on Ustream and they'll scare billions of people all at the same time, and then it's done. That'd be interesting.
There was a game in development a couple years ago, and I wish I could remember who was involved with it. I really want to say it was Will Wright, but I might be wrong. Will Wright, who made The Sims and SimCity and all that. There was some game in development that was supposed to be basically an ARG for yourself. Like it had a couple dozen scenarios, and you would give it as many different ways to contact you as possible, and it would use all of them to make an ARG happen to you.
No, thank you.
Yeah,
oh,
I know.
Wow.
The reason I probably haven't heard about it for a couple of years is because it probably went nowhere, because that is scary as hell.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I have a hard time. Like, I have such a big imagination that I have a hard time with scary films. And
what's that movie with Michael Douglas where Sean Penn does that to him, basically? Mm-hmm. Do either of you know?
Mm-mm. The Game. Yeah, it's
a
fantastic movie.
Yeah. He basically he does that
David Fincher?
Yes, it is David Fincher. He basically pulls that on him. He puts him in what is a fictional universe, but he doesn't know he's in a fictional universe where everyone in his life is rigged to behave a certain way.
It is such a fantastic movie. I would recommend it to anybody. It is really good.
What is the name of this movie? I'm sorry.
The Game, which you just lost. Hey.
No. Oh, all right. So, is it like is it disturbing or is it a jump scare movie?
Disturbing.
Okay, I can handle disturbing.
And a bit of a thriller as well. So
okay. All right. I can't do jump scares. I can't do unpleasant noises. Like high tensiony.
No, more of a psychological thing.
Okay.
So
well,
Entry 5 was not Entry 5 was not your favorite then, I guess, with the audio disturbances.
The truth is that I did my preliminary research in order to avoid it. So once I determined that it was the videos were not up my alley, I decided to do literature research and the background of what it was instead of watching the videos. That's just me, though. That's how I handle it. So.
That's how you roll.
Mm-hmm. Still enjoyable. Nice. I still find it fascinating, But yeah. That's exactly why I did that.
Cool. I think that by the time we get to Entry 5, I think that is where the story starts to begin to get fleshed out a little bit. And in the batch of entries that we're going to do, as well as the To the Arc videos, this guy recorded video responses to many of these videos. It's part of the plot. This next batch is really going to be is going to illuminate a lot of stuff. And if people are still kind of like, I don't quite know where this is going, you will continue to have that feeling throughout the entire series. But this next batch of entries will be helpful for everyone. Okay, here's our homework. I'm not going to list them out because there are a number of videos to watch, and some of them are these To the Arc videos, but we'll get the links. So refer to the YouTube
They will all be on the
video.
YouTube page.
Yeah, if you're listening to this in iTunes, check that out. We're going to be watching entries 6 through 12, but I believe there are about 3 To the Arc videos in there. So it's about 10 videos. Still under 15 minutes of total video watching.
You might have to watch a couple advertisements.
Yes.
We're actually being sponsored by Marble Hornets. That would be awesome.